Okay. Okay, we are now actually recording. We're going to wait just another minute to start. Okay, so I'm going to pick on you, Patrick, Linda, Angie, Josh, Jessica, the second Jessica, Michelle, Sonda, Lisa. If you have a camera, please do use it. If you have called in and don't have a camera, we understand. Thank you. We would like to see your lovely faces on this weirdo weather lovely afternoon. I don't know where it is everywhere else, but it is humid here.
The reason I didn't have my camera on, the NDCA outage affected my internet in the house. So I'm having my phone and
it's okay. I'm just saying if you do have camera access, please use it. No problem.
All right. It's just gonna be a little awkward.
Okay. Okay, we'll get started in just 2 minutes. Got 27 of you here, but I think there's 40. So some of you I have never met before, and I am just so excited to see your faces, i.e. Kathy Koodle King, hi. Because I know of you, right? And there's Kirby with his fabulous beard. And I can see only the top of Tanya's head. I have to adjust that. Oh, you have to get taller, Tanya. Okay, so just a reminder, we are recording the session. We will mail you the link so that you have it if you want to review things. Please, if you haven't already, sign into the chat with your name, email, and organization if you have one. We would like to have everyone's name listed there and their email contact so we can continue to stay in touch with you about this grant. Stay on mute. It will be a little bit easier. The only two people who should not be muted are myself and Kayla Schmidt. Kayla is going to wave at everyone. Kayla is the person who you contact about this grant. So the first thing I'm going to say is, don't write me. Don't call me. Contact Kayla. What that is doing is helping us to track the questions, make sure that we've answered them, not doubled answer them, given the appropriate answer, etc. So Kayla is the person who you contact. We have just till 4 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to kind of be a little bit of a drill sergeant to make sure that we get through this. I will periodically stop and I will answer questions. So wave, because I'm pretty good at catching you, or do that little hand raise thing, which is somewhere on your Zoom page and I don't know where. Reactions, it's under reactions. I think you can wave your hand. So I think that is it. We're going to get started. Okay. Lastly, name, email, and organization in the chat, please. Okay, so in my wildest dreams, did I ever imagine that the federal government would give North Dakota so much money? So starting last year, we got CARES funds, then we got Bush funds for individuals, then we got OMB CARES funds that went to 501c3s. That was a little bit of a tough process for our grant recipients as well as for NDCA, and those of you who were on the receiving end of it can attest to that. And now the feds through the NEA has given us even more money. We have approximately $700,000, which is almost twice what we get annually for our regular ongoing operational support. So our goal is to get it out to you. We want you to have it. We want to spread the wealth. It's quite a process. And, you know, bless Kayla Schmidt. She has been with us since the start, working on getting all of these programs up and the materials that you need out to you. So here we go. Yeah, I saw that. Nice, Paul. Yes, good work, Kayla. We love you. Thank you. Okay, everybody give high fives to Kayla. All right, here we go. So these funds are called the American Rescue Plan, ARP. What's interesting is that there are ARP funds in arts, in education, in states, in every configuration, to native tribals, to, there are so many ARP funds, because the goal of this money is to reestablish and rebuild in ways that work better for all arts organizations. So whether you are an individual or an organization, it's about community-focused programming or projects as you rebuild and continue to grow, always with the eye on your mission. I can't stress that enough. So individuals and organizations are both eligible for this funding. And for our purposes, what we have done is to call organizational grants program grants, and individual grants project grants. Okay, so that's just the words that you'll continue to hear us use. So we're administering the NDCA ARP funds, and it is really based on artistic excellence and artistic merit, which has always been the NEA's guidelines. So the quality of your programs or the individual merit of the proposed project, the potential to have a significant immediate impact on the arts workforce, the significance to your mission and the core work of your organization or individual goals, your ability to carry this out, and as appropriate, if you can serve underserved populations, the NEA really loves that. Okay, so there are 2 deadlines for applications. This is important to understand. Just want to see if it's written. Hold on one quick second as I just switch a page here. Okay, so August 16th, which is coming right up, is the first round application deadline. You will get notice if you receive funds on September 13th. The second round application deadline is October 15th. That is also the date that we would start to disperse money, but only to individuals. I'll come back to that later. You would get a word of the second round of applications November 19th. And in general, all of the last eligible date for expenses is January 31st. The last date that funds can be received are February 1, funds dispersed, sorry, and February 28th is the final report deadline. Very quickly, I just want to potentially share my screen if I'm capable of doing this. I think this is it. See that? That is the timeline. It is on our website. Please don't ask me to repeat it. Go there and look it up. That would be most excellent. All right. The next thing I want to say is you can apply in round 1. If you get turned down and you get feedback via Kayla and an email, you could apply to round 2, but you will only get 1 grant. So I hope that makes sense. You can choose to apply for the first one or the second one. If you feel like it's a little questionable, I would recommend you contact Kayla in advance to get feedback on what you're proposing to do. But if you don't get funded, you could apply for round 2. Make sense? Just say, yay, heads going up and down. Okay, great. All right, next thing. Individuals can receive 60% of their grant up front. That is not true for organizations. Individuals can receive 60% up front because we feel that they don't have the capital to get projects started a lot of the time. So in order for them to be successful, we want to try to get you money in advance if we can. But other than that one little caveat, these grants are based on reimbursement. Okay, so organizations can receive $2,000 to $20,000, but it's based on the actual expenditures and the submission of documentation. Individual artists can receive between $1,000 and $8,000, receiving 60% up front, but that gives us a way to curtail a final payment if you don't submit the actual documentation, right? So we're just trying to protect ourselves in that case. And again, we want you to be successful. All final reports must be submitted by February 28th. All final reports, again, you can only receive one grant. And then the last thing is, it is based on documentation. So Kayla, if you would share your screen and show the documentation document, that would be really great. We have really tried to give you samples of what is acceptable. For those of you who were involved, are you okay to do it? You're muted, so okay.
Yep, yeah, I'm just.
I'm going to talk over. Okay, so I'm going to just talk over. So I just want to say, for those of you who were involved in the OMB CARES Act, which was very difficult, we are not going to be quite as dot the I, cross the T. I am not looking at bank statements or credit card statements. Can't do it, won't do it, don't have the capacity to do it. So let's look at the documentation next to it. Yeah. Okay. So the documentation is really important because, again, I'm not going to look at bank statements. I'm not going to look at credit card statements, but therefore the process of letters of agreement or receipts is really important. Tell us when the transaction or agreement or payment occurred. What was it for? What did you buy? Very important thing. We will only take the net. So there is nothing taxable that we can reimburse for, nothing. So if you bought something at a store or you had taxes on employee salaries, no taxes will be included. Please don't submit them. Please don't make us do more math than we need to do. Don't include the taxes. If you've got a receipt, cross it out and write in the new total. Tell us the parties and locations that were involved. Who did you contract with? Where did it occur? So for organizations, if you've got a utility bill or a rental storage, make sure you tell us what that covers. Okay, go ahead and scroll, Kayla, and we'll see what's on here. So here's examples of receipts. Again, pre-tax, what was purchased, the date, and add the name of your organization to it. Okay, so keep going. A performance agreement. If you as an individual are going to perform somewhere, you need an agreement. If you as an organization are going to hire an artist or a contractor, please make sure that you include what we need to know. Go ahead. Payroll documents. There it is. I ain't going further than this. So net pay is the number we want. No taxes. Go above the line. Make sure you get the net pay. Invoices. Make sure you describe the pre-tax amount and what happened as part of that service. So if there were individuals involved, make sure that you have their information. And if it's an agency, provide the dates of service. Keep going. We tried to be as graphically pleasing and as easy to follow. So hopefully if you can do this, and if you have additional questions, when it comes time to submit your final report, these are the kinds of things you're going to want to have. Especially when you get into organizations and utility bills, we've got to know where you were paying on, what's the location, and make sure that your name is on it. Keep going. Again, make sure it's pre-tax. Rental agreements. Again, rent amount, description of the property, the dates, the terms. Keep going. Travel and lodging, this is only for individuals, but if you are, as part of your project, going to be moving around, make sure that you charge for lodging, that you show it, that we can reimburse you pre-tax. And if you're doing your travel, the idea of doing a little travel log like this is a great idea, where you can get everything on one page and give us a total. Keep going. Okay, promotional items, marketing is covered. It is. So if you have a Facebook shot, or you have a flyer, or you have a web page announcement or an event, you can do that, but you're going to have to show us what you paid for it if you have stuff. Okay, keep going.
That's all we got for this one.
That's it. Okay, great. If you would stop sharing. At this point, I want to take questions. And before I take questions on this section, the last thing I want to say is you have a time frame, June 1 to January 31st. Nothing on May 30th. Nothing on February 1. That is your time frame for reimbursements. So I'm gonna very quickly just answer some of the questions that just appeared in the chat. Give me 1 second. If you are new, please do sign in, put your email, your name, and your organization if you have one. So the question, I think, came from Michelle. No, I think it was Michelle. Do you only need one form or of proof of expenditure? If you have 10 expenditures, you have 10 receipts. Okay, if you have 20 expenditures, you have 20 receipts. If you're doing payroll and that accommodates $20,000, we should be so lucky. That's all we need is one payroll report, or what makes up each month in that. Does that help, Michelle? Yes. Okay. All right. Questions, raise your hands or wave at me. Tanya. Unmute.
If you're trying to hire somebody like an IT person, and you don't know exactly how much it's going to come to, but you might have a general sense, how does that work?
Get a general sense and put that into the budget. And when you do your letter of agreement or contract with them, try to get as close to that as you can. I would recommend shopping around to get your prices so that you can get as close to an idea as possible. I would say, and I shouldn't, I guess I just kind of think this, but for the organizations, when you apply, you don't have to apply in the August deadline. You can apply in the October deadline. Also, because I'm sure we're still going to have funds. I know we will still have funds, so I'm not as worried about that. But if you need to have a better cost summary just to try to do it, that would be fine. Okay, anybody else have a question? Wave. Angie.
So it is my understanding that the money will go out, let's say November-ish, right? If we apply in October, and the deadline of the project is then the end of February?
We've had this question a lot from individuals. So the way to think about this is we want you as artists, you are doing new project work. Again, your time frame is June 1 to January 31. So that's a full 6 months. If you cannot finish your project by then, that's fine. Your final report would be due at the end of February, and you would tell us where you were at that point. But we will only cover expenditures from June 1 to January 31st. So if you end up not doing your project until May, we will only reimburse you for expenses June 1 to January 31st. You can finish your project after. That is absolutely fine, but that means you might have to be super organized and have everything lined up.
Okay, so am I getting the year wrong? Is it the end of January 31st, 2022?
Yep.
Okay, so we basically, I mean, from now we have.
You
let's
have
say-
6 months. So I would, as an individual, I would backtrack a little if you're in the middle of planning a project and put some expenses in for earlier than today. As an individual artist, I would imagine you've been thinking about it. So put in for your time. Create a robust project that represents what you want to do and accommodate your time as an artist. Like, oh my God, individual artists, we're going to pay you. Put it in. Make sense? Yeah, we love it. We want to spend this money. We want you to have it. We want you to do your projects in as strong a way as possible. I can tell you I'm not a federal agent. It's not. We want you to succeed, so go for it. If you're unsure of something, send Kayla a note and we'll respond as best we can. Okay? Megan, hi.
So if it's a project that was maybe started at the end of June, it's still a new project, is that okay? Because it fits the window, or should it be a new project that starts, after August 15th or whatever?
Nope, June 1 to January 31st. All good. Okay, anyone else have a question? Wave. Am I missing somebody? Barbara.
So if we did a project in March, April, or May of 2022 and had then we could be reimbursed later, or
Nope.
does it have to happen
Nope.
between?
You can do your project at any time.
Okay,
We will only reimburse for expenses through January 31st, no matter when your project is. If you are outdoor mural artists, you would need to either, yes, Erica, that is correct. If you were outdoor mural artists, you wouldn't necessarily need, yes, you would need to make your purchases ahead of time. There you go.
Okay, because I was like, any of my indoor stuff is small paintings, so I didn't know if that was even going to work for this grant, because it's like individual smaller pieces like that I didn't see as having the community impact that you guys are shooting for there.
There must be a community connection. It's not just about doing what you do. We want you to connect with communities. We want you to connect with individuals. We want you to help rebuild the cultural community. So that's the emphasis, and adhering to your mission or vision, whether you're an organization or whether you're an individual. Okay? So
I'm sorry, as a follow-up to that, if we're wanting to get that word out there then, because I had just heard of this grant on Friday night. So if we were to be reaching out to local entities, obviously it's going to be hard to get a short list of people who are interested in that kind of project by that first deadline. Is that when we're looking at shooting for the October deadline, since it's a further out project anyway?
Erica, that's completely up to you. We've been advertising this grant availability. I don't think we've been trying to get people to spread the word on our behalf. We've been doing the best that we can. The best thing actually that all of you can do when you get off this call is to pass this on to any arts group or individual artist that you know who might not know about it. Organizations must have a 501c3. In my ongoing battle with the National Endowment for the Arts, it's very difficult. They will not fund fiscal sponsors, and they will not fund small organized groups of people. So if you belong to a small organized group of people who want to do something, I would recommend that you all apply as individuals, because there is no group umbrella for it to fit under. But 501s, your organizations, please share this with your staff. Please share this with your audiences, because there are people who work with you and for you and your communities who need to know that this is available. Do you have to be an arts group? You have to have a 501c3 and you have to do an artistic creative project. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I make up my own rules sometimes, but that's because I know that we're not going to get looked at as closely on this. They have so much money to get out, and they're just trying to utilize it as best as possible. So whatever project you do, the other thing is you could, as an individual, please read the guidelines. You can offer workshops. You can help train people in what you do, or offer an introductory course in what you do. That's acceptable also. Okay. Okay, I'm looking. Otherwise, Jessica?
I'm sorry, my dogs just started barking. Come back to me.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have a question immediately? Otherwise, I'm just going to start to move through the process a little bit. Angie?
So can two artists work on the same project, but each apply for a separate grant?
Yes, so long as your costs don't overlap. So if I get an application from Angie and I get an application from Jim and it's for the same project, one of you put in marketing, the other one doesn't. One of you put in transportation, the other one doesn't. No duplicate costs. All right, anything else? Can I move on? Okay, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna start with organizations, if that's all right. I'm gonna start with, if I can find it. Oh, don't do that. Sorry, I just minimized something and now I have to find it.
And then
Okay.
I wanted to ask you with organizations if you wanted to mention the other funding opportunity with the NDA. If you want to wait on that.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay. So one other thing for organizations. You can apply to the National Endowment for the Arts directly for funding. You can get funds from NDCA through ARP, our funds, this program we're talking about right now. You also can apply directly to the National Endowment for the Arts for funding reimbursement of ARP funds. If you've never applied for an NEA grant, they will tell you it's kind of easy. I will tell you it is not. But no, Paul's shaking his head, Tanya's shaking her head. It is not easy, but it is doable. But do not wait till the last minute to do this. The reason being is that you have to get registered at grants.gov, you have to have a SAM account, and you have to have some semblance of knowing what you're doing. They are very helpful, they will help you. So it's another way to get more funds if you think you can handle the process. Okay, so that's the National Endowment for the Arts. You would go to their website and they have ARP funds available, and you would apply to them directly, and you could apply to us. Once again, the costs and the time frame cannot overlap. Okay, all right. The last thing before I go into the organizations is that MACA, the Minot Area Council on the Arts, was able to achieve local arts agency, what's it called? They received acknowledgement as a local arts agency. The feds have acknowledged them as a local arts agency. That took an application process. They have an application in, they will also have funds available. They are located up in Minot. They will be able to fund across the state. They do not have their guidelines written. Don't bother them yet. They don't have anything posted on their website. Don't bother them yet. But sometime after the new year, they will be able to offer a funding process related to ARP funds. What they have told me is that if you've received funds from NDCA, you will not be first in line when they start their funding process, so that they can get the funds out more widely to smaller organizations and to individuals. Make sense? Great. Do we have any other questions yet at this point? Jessica, you're back.
There, sorry, I got my dogs to quit. I was hoping you could speak a little bit as a private artist. I'm not really used to being paid for my time, but if that's something that can be included in this, I don't even know how to start.
When I get to the individual application, I will talk about the fees. Okay.
That's my only question.
Okay. Anyone else have a question right now? Otherwise, I'm going to go into the organizational application. Okay. So organizations, which means I won't be able to see you for a minute. Well, Kayla, maybe you could show this and then I could concentrate. Could I just, yes, the reason that's why I did not mention you. So the Arts Partnership did not get designated as a local arts agency. We asked the Arts Partnership, Dakota West Arts Council and Minot Area Council on the Arts, and Minot Area Council on the Arts is the only one that is going in as a designated local arts agency. They will be the only other organization in the state who can give out funds. Okay, so you were looking at the organizational application. Really straightforward, everyone. It's a fillable PDF. We did not make you go into Foundant, our online grant system. Everything is pretty clear in this first part, okay? Keep going, keep going. We are asking you, everyone, to round up your budgets to the nearest $50. Please don't give us 43 cents. Please don't give us 72 cents. Just go up to the next dollar or 50-cent mark. Okay, that will help us to be able to check your budgets. That's for organizations and individuals. Again, you can apply for $2,000 to $20,000. Keep scrolling. Okay, here's where it gets important. We're looking at the quality of your programs, your potential to have an impact, the significance to your mission, your ability to carry it out. So the next bullet points, how will your organization amplify the presence of the arts, expand accessibility? Tell us who you're working with, organizations, partners, communities, audiences. Describe how you plan to accomplish your goal within the grant period, provide the timeline, and describe how the funds will impact the expected outcomes. And you have 8,000 characters, which means don't fill it up with historical information about your organization. Don't even bother putting your mission in unless you are going to relate to it in your program. Okay, keep going. Okay, the budget, important. This is true for organizations and individuals. There is no match required. We're going to give you money, you use it. All you have to do is document how you're using it. Okay, taxes, please don't include them. So again, your budget between June 1 and January 31st, and it will be reimbursed to you. Two things that are not acceptable are food and drink. Okay. Budget breakdown, you can give us salaries, net pay only, June 1 to January 31st. You can hire people. So you can contract with IT people. You can bring in you might need to bring in a teaching artist if you're doing arts ed. You could contract for a training a member of your staff, but you cannot train your staff in diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So we don't want you to take that on. We just want you to, like, if you choose a staff person where they're going to get training, that's okay. Tech support with ongoing activities, keep going. Facilities cost, rent, utilities, electric, phone, gas. No HVAC systems this time, and no home offices are allowable. Safety and health supplies are allowed. Marketing and promotion is allowed. Keep going. Okay, then here's the budget form. It is a friendly form. It will total for you. It's broken down into those categories. Keep going. There's information about when the final report is due, but we will repeat again when we send you your grant award letter, what you're going to have to send in and when you're going to have to send it in by, and then basically your electronic signature. Okay, so stop sharing, and I'm going to come up and take any questions from organizations. Paul.
Thanks, Kim and Kayla. Question, early on in what we saw, it was, this has to be related to your mission,
Yep.
interaction with the community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yet we can pay the rent and the utilities. And
that's related to your mission. You wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't have a place to be.
That's perfect answer. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Dina.
So does this also have to include some sort of new programming, or can this just be for our existing programming?
So for organizations, it's not necessarily new programs, but you may add layers to what you're already doing. So if you want to add a teaching artist, if you want to enhance your website, if you want to do audience surveys, whatever. So loosely cloaked, you're better off doing something you're already doing or have wanted to do that's in support of your mission than creating something like.
And then I have one other thing. On the first part of the budget page there, when it asks you your percentage of your costs relating to arts programming.
Wouldn't yours be 100%?
I mean, yes, like I was just unclear if like my admin, payroll and everything, it all counts towards that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other organizational questions? I'm scrolling to page 2 just to see wave. Make sure, does anyone on the phone? I see Linda's got her hand up, and then Jessica. So I'll start with you two, and then make sure that if you're on the phone and you have questions that you stop me before I go on. So Linda.
Yeah, I have a question. The wood turners had to change their meeting location because of COVID.
Linda, get to the point of your question. I got to make sure we have time.
Yeah, this has to do with it. But anyway, the new place that they are going to meet at has offered them a free or reduced rate if they would work with their students.
So your question is about?
if they're going to work with the students, they're going to need more tools.
Then
So
they
would,
can apply
would
for it.
buying tools work for that? Okay.
Sure, absolutely. We'd love to see training take place. That'd be great. And if you want to put in a portion of that rent, if they're getting a reduced rate, you can do that to cover it. Jessica.
If our
And I'm sorry
organization,
I'm sorry I have to be quick, but I want to make sure we get through everything. Jessica.
if our organization applies next week and we want to apply for facility costs like rent and utilities, do we use kind of predictive and budgeted costs for now, between now and the end of the deadline, or do we only use what we've already assumed in cost?
It's your call. You're going to have to back it up with documentation, and your cost will only be June 1 to January 31st. So how's
That's
that for
fine.
an answer? Yeah,
That's
just keep
good.
my hands up.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
and there, you know what? You only get as much as $20,000. So sometimes that adds up pretty quickly if you're a larger organization. Okay, going backward. Anybody else have a question? Anyone on the phone have a question that's in an organization? Okay, I'm going to move on to individuals, and then we're going to take lots of questions. Okay, so organizations, hang in there. So Kayla, share your organizational, I'm sorry, your individual. Okay, so again, we're calling yours projects. First part of it is pretty simple. We just need some basic information. We help you find what you need with the here boxes. We want to know if you've applied to us in the past. We want to know what you're requesting. Scroll down. Again, round it up to the nearest 50. So for your proposal, describe your presentation, your workshop, or your artistic creation. What's the goal? How this demonstrates artistic merit. We did ask you to give us your website or your Facebook page in the application because we will be looking at artistic merit. Provide a list of who you'll be working with. So if you're applying on behalf of a group, you would want to make sure that you put your partners' names in there. Describe how you plan to accomplish your goal for the project or activity. Provide a timeline of your progress, and then describe the expected outcomes of your project. Now, in this case, I just said, if you've got partners, include them. And I answered before that you might want to consider applying separately so that the costs don't duplicate. But if there are, the one way you could think about this is that you could apply on behalf of two people, but the check's going to come to the applicant, one person, and your tax information would reflect that you will be receiving the 1099, so you might want to do separate applications. And yes, you only have 8,000 characters here too. Scroll down. Okay, in your budget, no match is required. Expenses, again, June 1 to January 31st. Individuals will get 60% of the total funds that they're granted up front. The remaining 40% will happen after you turn in your documentation and will come as a reimbursement. So again, the full funding of the allocated grant amount is contingent upon what you send in as your documentation. Taxes don't include them. Artist fees. Let's talk a little bit about artist fees. Many individual artists don't receive artist fees. We hope to God that you can pay yourself through this project. You should talk to people who do similar activities as you. You should set up either an hourly rate or a project rate that maybe takes up 50% of your budget. But your total budget will be your guide. What will it take to do your project? And if you take out the marketing and the travel and the lodging and the rental and contracting with another person, the rest of it can be your artist fees. That's one way to look at it, or talk to other people. I'll come back for questions when we get to the end of this, okay? So you put your, you would put in your artist fees, your travel costs, mileage and lodging, your supplies, marketing, and promotional fees. We will not reimburse for personal financial hardship, which the last CARES funds did. So we cannot cover your rent, your utilities, or food or drink. It's about your artistic and creative project. Keep going. Scrolly scroll. Here's your budget, it'll add it up. There's information on the final report. And then you're gonna sign for it. And then it tells you how to submit it. Okay, we're gonna come back to the group. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you. Okay, now who has questions? Okay, we're done. No, Megan had a question. I saw that.
So if I have an expense that I budget for, but it actually doesn't come to fruition, like a travel expense or something that I don't end up doing, then that just doesn't get reimbursed, and that's not a huge problem in the end, right?
Correct. So if you didn't have the receipt to document where you went, then we would take it, we wouldn't give you the full budget. So it'll be whatever you turn in, that's what we're gonna reimburse that last percentage on. Yes, supplies are wonderful. Equipment is wonderful. That goes back to Linda's question. We love supplies, we love equipment, but it has to be related to your artistic mission or vision as an individual. Linda.
I just had a question about, this applies to all. Can the receipts be copies, or do you need the original?
Oh, please don't send me the originals. So this not being a regular NDCA grant that we're going to get audited on by the NDCA auditors at some point, which we will. I don't want your original receipts. I want copies. And make sure that you mark them appropriately. You'll look at the documentation guide. When you get your grant award letter, you would really look carefully at the documentation requirements and make sure everything is labeled, okay? So let me do one last thing here and say, if you have a camera, please show us your face. If you're on the phone and don't have a camera, we do understand. There's Miss Molly, there's Erica again. We're just want to make sure that we acknowledge everybody that we can, if we know you. Okay, there's Deanne. Just if you're on the phone and you have a question, please, now is a good time to ask. Make sure that your name, your email, and your affiliation, if you have one, is in the chat, please. Gordon, and then I see Sandra has a hand up. So Gordon first.
Okay, unmute. All right, so if I normally do a day rate for photography, can I submit that way? Or
that's up to you. And again, I would look
Okay.
at the project that you're trying to do.
Right,
What's your marketing? What's your travel? What's your lodging? What are your supplies? What are your
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And then you'll know what chunk you have left because it's only up to $8,000.
okay. And then how about if you submitted for more than 8,000 and you're hoping to get that, does
Nope.
it work that way?
Nope, it doesn't work that way. The top you can get from 1 to 8,000, that's it.
But if the project cost is higher than that, could you still get the 8,000?
If the panel thinks your project is worthwhile, then you could get 8,000.
Okay.
So
I get-
it's not, I guess I should say, it's not, you're not a solo entity. Once you turn it in, then you become part of a larger group. And a panel will review all the applications and make the decisions. So in some cases, you may not receive the cap, okay? You may not receive 8,000 or you may not receive 20,000, but that then would be based on something in your application that the panel didn't feel like it was going to work out right, or wasn't, you didn't defend the premise properly, or
Okay.
by some miracle we got bombarded and had a little less money to give out.
Okay.
Who knows?
We'll see what happens, I guess.
Right.
But, and then the other thing would be like research to do of the project. Could that be included? So like if you bought a book that you were gonna,
Gordon,
do
it looks,
research on?
do this based on your total project costs,
okay,
okay?
that's what I
Because
did,
that's
yeah.
real, 8,000, there you go, that's the cap.
Mhm.
So you want to
Okay.
make sure everything fits in there. Okay,
Perfect, thank
all
you.
right. Sonda. Sonda.
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself there.
There.
Yes, I was curious if I were, so I'm a musician who plays both solo and in a band. And so we would likely all apply individually, obviously. But if I wanted to apply to do, say, an album with the band and solo, would I do that all in one application? I just need to document separately, like this is the recording cost for the band, this is the recording cost for me individually.
Yes, now remember.
It would be multiple projects, but yeah.
That's okay, but
Okay.
I want to be really clear about this. For the organizations, it's kind of business as usual, but we're giving you extra money to do what you do a little better if you can in support of your mission in your community. For individual artists, it is definitely not just doing what you do on an ongoing basis. That is not what this is about. This is about really working to strengthen your community, to teach people about art, to introduce them to the arts. So it's just remember, it's just not business as usual. Please keep that in mind. It's newer projects. Okay.
Right. So that would be, so we're new, I haven't recorded individually, nor have we as a band. My thinking is that I know a lot of local people who do recording. I know people who are local graphic designers that we can then help
You can
to,
help
yeah,
them,
exactly.
yes.
Like that's kind of the idea, is that we do the recording of this album,
Right.
but then that
Okay,
money is
got
being
it,
infused.
got it,
Yeah. Okay.
got it.
Okay.
But here's the point. You're going to get the 1099.
Right.
Okay. It's under your name. So you're going to get the tax at the end. Okay.
And in that vein, I'm sorry, I have one more follow-up real quick. Because I had been told, but you haven't mentioned, that we would need a pass-through organization for the granting as individuals. Is that true? Okay.
No.
Okay.
This money is cut. We are one of the few states that can give grants to individuals
directly. Okay.
Directly.
Thank you.
So because there are no pass-throughs, this grant will not fund pass-throughs or fiscal sponsors. It won't do it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay. John has his hand up. You got to unmute, John. You got to unmute.
Thank you for the reminder.
Sure.
I have two artistic endeavors, and I want to know if I can submit projects for each of them.
You can submit one. You will only get a grant for one project. So if you want to put both of the costs into one application, so long as it totals 8,000, you can do that and put a little money toward each. Whether or not you want to make sure that you can be successful in finishing them, so don't cut yourself short.
Understood. I'm a photographer.
John, I don't want you to explain the projects right now if that's what you're about to do. So what I'm saying is you could put them both into one application, but you're only going to get one grant.
I'm going to ask a general question about one particular project.
Right.
I'm a photographer, would travel to a location for photographing and selling merchandise resulting be acceptable?
Yes. Travel is acceptable. Okay, I'm checking the screen. I'm watching the time. Are we good? Anybody else on the phone have a question? I got Sonda and I got John, right? Okay, anybody else have a question? I apologize if it's fast. I apologize if I'm a little clipped in getting the info out to you. It's a lot to take in. I strongly recommend that you read those guidelines, because I think they're pretty clear. I think there's a lot that's spelled out in there, and then contact Kayla immediately if you have a question. Erica put a note in the chat that if Bismarck, Mandan area examples of projects that qualified for funding for similar grants. Erica, can you tell me what you do? Sorry, you said that.
So I've done some mural work around town.
Mural work, okay.
But I'm not entirely sure, you know,
Okay,
if
why
other
don't
people
you,
have examples.
okay, Molly, could I ask you from Dakota West Arts Council to
Oh,
connect
is
with,
Molly on?
yeah, so if you connect with Erica,
Give
if
me
the two of- yeah, she can help you with that.
Absolutely.
Perfect, perfect partnership, great. Anyone else? Okay, Megan, question.
This immediate impact on the arts community, can it be only in North Dakota, this immediate impact that we're suggesting, or can it be, okay, so it can't be like, I'm going
You're
to.
not going to New York, you're not going to Minneapolis, they got their own money.
Right, no, but, okay, so if I'm ordering frames from somebody in Minneapolis, that's not a good thing.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Okay, okay,
That's a supply. I'm not really sure I care where you get your supplies from.
okay,
Because a lot of things are not available here, right?
right,
So
okay.
go for it.
Thanks.
That's fine. I thought you meant like going to a gallery in Minneapolis. Don't do that. Okay, I mean, or do it, but don't ask us for the money to fund it. Okay, and Honesty wrote, strengthen your community through newer projects by way of art. Okay, so individual artists, new projects, strengthen your community, be true to your mission, do work that builds audiences. Don't forget about offering workshops. That's a great idea. You don't have to have a full-fledged, you know, production or a show. You can do that if you want to, but if you want to offer workshops and spread the good word of arts and culture, do it. That's a great thing. Teaching, great thing. Did I get everybody? Did I get any other questions?
I was just going to say, a lot of people are looking at kind of digital options, doing maybe, you know, YouTube videos or Facebook Live type of thing. If you need equipment to kind of expand your reach that way. And then also when it comes to submitting, we're trying to do everything digitally. So email stuff to the NDCA one. We will take some paper applications, but they move. So make sure you look at the last page of the application for the NDCA office, and then no more faxing.
No fax. We don't even own a fax anymore. We threw it out when we moved. We donated it. We didn't throw it out. Actually, we sent it to the large warehouse that belongs to the state for somebody else to take advantage of it. So, okay. Does anybody have any other questions? We are here for you. We can answer your questions. Send Kayla an email, because if she doesn't know the answer, I promise you, she asks me. We go back and forth all day, but that allows us to really track what we're doing. If your program employs North Dakota residents and the work happens to be in North Dakota, sure, that's fine, Judy. When is the event? After January 31st?
No, it would be in December.
We fund Moorhead. We fund.
Okay, awesome. Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? I'm looking at your smiling faces. It's money, you guys. It's money. We want you to have it. There's no match. Do good work for North Dakota. Let's raise up the profile of North Dakota artists and North Dakota organizations. We were a little astounded to get as much money as we did. So we want you to have it. Once we get past the hardship of trying to design applications, then we're happy about it. We want you to have it. Okay, any other questions, organizations or individuals? Okay, everybody, stay strong, stay healthy, be kind, Let us know if you have questions, and I hope to see all of your applications soon. Okay? Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sign off, everyone. Thank you.